The views, thoughts, and opinions expressed are the speaker's own and does not represent legal or accounting advice or counsel and should not be seen as such. The material and information presented here is for general information purposes only. We make no promises or assertions on how this information will impact your business, your personal life, or financial well-being. The information relayed does not imply endorsement or offer opposition to any specific organization, product, or services. Welcome to SHifT. I'm your host, Lori Power, and I'm looking forward to our conversation. So, how excited am I today to have Mike Garrison join me to talk about his book, Can I Borrow Your Car? Now, this is not the first or the one and done. There'll be more, but I was so intrigued when I heard you talk about how the power of referrals and how to really work it. I love the concept, and we'll get into it, that referral predator, which I'm very open to say I've been. I'm going to try harder not to be one, an unintentional referral predator. How to make your business the concierge and grow your business through the age-old word of mouth, know, like, and trust, right? So why don't we get started with a bit of your background, Mike, and how you came into this world of understanding, honing, and then coaching people on referrals.
It's a long story. It was a dark, stormy night. Oh, wait, that's a different podcast. I'm sorry. That's the literature podcast. My fault. So long time ago, I was a veteran graduating from four-year university here in the United States. And I heard a guy in my last class at the college talk about doing business by referral in a PR class. And he owned a copier sales company. And I bugged him like the widow in the Bible until he said, okay, fine, I'll give you a position in sales. And I ended up getting hired. And then the first thing he did was had me cold call. I was like, what? Bait and switch. And I sucked at cold calling. I was just awful because I wanted to apologize every time I interrupted people, right? And I was going to fail, but luckily I found these non-structured referral groups because in Washington, D.C. area where I was at the time, there had been a decrepit B&I franchise that had been run into the ground and actually been taken away. So there used to be like 40 B&I groups in that area, and there were only like 2 because they all got renegade. And unbeknownst to me, I was in 4 or 5 of them because it was just a free-for-all, networking, everything. Long story short, I met my mentor, Art Radke, who is the franchisee, the new franchisee, and he started to teach me about how referrals could change lives, that it wasn't just a technique, that it was much, much deeper. And I was a natural networker, big personality, relatively quick on my feet, and a veteran, so I was able to be, focused. From there, Art was kind enough to let my wife and I buy a piece of Virginia. So we bought the Southwestern Virginia franchise for B&I and built it 100%. We'd never been there, never lived there. We built that award-winning franchise by referral in a new territory when I didn't know anybody, literally. I'm not necessarily recommending that as a strategy, by the way. Like, it was there were days I would drive back and just weep trying to figure out how I was going to tell my wife something positive. But we made it through thanks to relationships. And I guess it all changed as I talk about in the book that day when I was in Good, Virginia, when I was at a hostile audience, and in 10 minutes I was able to take somebody from I'm going to effing kill you and pee on you while you're on fire to giving me the keys to a priceless restored automobile, literally handing it to me. And that was the Can I Borrow Your Car story. Shortly after that story happened, my son was born extremely premature. I talked about it earlier, and I lost everything, millions and millions of dollars, basically spent 15 years as a severely depressed part-time coach, making what a lot of people think is a decent income. But when you've got the kind of economic burdens that 4 crippling disabilities have, My son's not leaving home until we die, hopefully. That's our retirement, is to make enough money so that he can live with us until we're gone. So all that coming forward, when I decided to publish that book, Can I Borrow Your Car, about 3 years ago, my life started to change because I felt like I owned my story again. Right. And it's so important. Like, I believe, and this will transition. So pardon me, Lori's a friend on social. I believe there are three absolutely critical questions that drive business success. So I'm speaking to business owners, but I'm also talking to aspirational people that want to be more successful. But of those three, one is the most important. So I'm going to give you the three. The last one is the one that's most important. First question is, why should I meet with you? That covers, what are you selling? What business are you in? How does your marketing work? Right, top of the funnel stuff. Then is, why should I buy from you? Middle of the funnel up to onboarding, right? Once again, this covers most of a business's processes if you understand business. The last question is, why should I refer you?
Yeah.
Which is the most important question, because why should I meet you and why should I buy are default included in why should I refer. And that's what my book did for me. It brought me back to being able to answer, why should I refer you? And then I met Scott Snyder with Exit Planning Institute. Scott helped change my life. He invited me to be on the faculty at Exit Planning Institute. So I've got a program there you can pay for. And then he invited me to sign books and speak at 2 years ago at the summit. And then we're now launching a brand new way for SEPAs to be able to create their business, like to take SEPA, and like the theme for 2025 is Beyond SEPA.
Right.
And we've got a 12-month training program designed to take my referral system, put it into action with steps, is all kind of enclosed within a mastermind concept by my dear friend Tina Stoltz, who is the foremost authority on peer groups that has ever strode the planet.
At first, when I got your book, now I had heard you speak. I've been reading your blogs. I highly recommend anybody who is not connected with you on LinkedIn, or at least looked at your blogs and your posting, to start doing so. There's a lot of wisdom and practicality in there.
Really quick. So just so everybody knows, I have rules on social media.
Okay.
If I don't know you, I'm not going to accept your connection request unless you send me a personal note, right? So if somebody takes the time to send me a personal note, I always accept a connection request. Then if they pitch slap me afterwards, trying to sell me whatever they're doing, then I not only remove the connection, I block them. So I just want people to know I've got rules.
And there's nothing wrong with that, because that funnels right into what we're talking about today. And I like that pitch slapping, because how many times do we connect with somebody and the first thing out of their mouth, that's that referral predator, right? What can you give me? Well, wait a minute. You haven't given me anything, including conversation. When I bought your book, I was
Yes.
a little bit excited, but or questioning the name, right? Can I borrow your car? And I'm like, okay, I can see a little bit about where this applies to referral and building your concierge and moving forward. But I like the way that you described the "can I borrow your car?" And again, I've stolen that since I've read your book. I've spread it around and I've said, yeah, there's three things. I want my car back in as good or better condition than when I lent it to you. And it made me think a lot over the years of giving referrals and perhaps not doing it the right way. Whereas if that is still my client today, and I've given them a referral even 5 years ago to somebody who am no longer connected with, I've broken not the chain of command, but that triangle effect that you speak about. Can you elaborate a little bit more about that?
So absolutely. Thank you. So when I decided to get back in the referral game, right, when I decided I was going to do that, which coincided with beginning to even conceive of writing another book, um, I wanted to do something different, Lori. I wanted to present something that was not the usual steaming pile of fecal material on a hot August day with a stiff breeze behind it, right? I wanted to actually present something of at least moderate value, you know? And so I've always felt, because I come from a commercial sales background with professional sales training, I've always felt that most people that teach referrals suck um, hard, like they're terrible because they don't like sales. They don't, and that's, but people that don't like sales are not professional salespeople. They have no concept of what it really means because I'll tell you this, the safest drivers are professional salespeople. The
Because you need
safest
your car
driver.
to get you need your car to get to the next meeting.
Yeah, and so like the concept became, well, how do I try and rescue, at least for some people, and thank you for joining the tribe. How can I rescue referrals from this Chicken Little type marketing, this reactive hope dream? You can't predict it. How can we do it? And so I said, well, what is the number one reason after 30 years of this? What's the number one reason that people aren't successful at being able to scale referrals humanely? And it's risk. It's mitigation of reputation. Because here's the deal, right? So I'm going to tell people this is the first secret. The first secret is unless you are a horrible reprobate human being, a inveterate narcissist who is also a sociopath. Unless you're that person, if you are, advertising is going to work. Buy some advertising if that's you. Take that as you will. But unless you're that person, if you're another decent human being, you're losing at least 90% of the potential referrals, conversations. And the reason is you're not present when they occur. Most referral conversations that you aren't aware of and that you lose occur with your clients, your family members, your professional relationships. And by the way, if your employees aren't referring you, you're a horrible person. You're terrible. Like that is, if your employees aren't empowered to help grow your business, what does that say about your business? My God. Anyways, don't call me if you hate your employees. It will be a bad experience for you and probably for me. So back to this thing, right? The concept is risk, the unconscious governor. If you've ever driven a golf cart and you floor it and it doesn't go faster, risk is what puts the brakes on referrals. So here's what's happening, Lori, not with your clients, of course, because you read the book and everything is just unicorns and sugar plums and all that. You have no problems. That's why the book should be 20,000, but it's only 20. Anyways, here's the deal. Most of your best referral sources are trying to do the wrong thing. And it's all your fault. What they're trying to do is they're trying to get you deals. They're looking for people that are in the less than 1/1,000,000th of 1% of their lifespan, where they need a product or service and they actually don't know anyone. How, what, like that's not even an hour in their life of a
Right.
buyer, right? So that's bad marketing. That's not even bad branding. And we all know that branding is just unaccountable design and PR. That's what branding is. That's all it is, right? Personal branding. Ugh, so nauseous. Like it's so unaccountable. It's so weak. It's so disingenuous. And if that's what you do and you don't like me, great. I am so glad. Don't buy my book. Don't talk to me. Will be great. So here's the point. Referrals aren't about being available to buy from everybody. It's about your ideal clients. And so here's the deal. You ready?
Yep.
Instead of your clients trying to sell you, do your job, try and figure out who you want to meet, try and figure out how to talk to them. We're going to do that job because we're professionals. We're going to, number one, educate our clients on one simple concept, that we're safe drivers and we don't mind meeting people that aren't ready to buy. And in
Right.
fact, we would rather have an introduction to another human being just because we're human beings and there might be potential down the road. That's the number one problem. Then it comes down to, you ready? We're going to do a little live. Well, this is not live when you hear the podcast. We're going to do a little experiment. I did not set this up. So, Lori,
Okay.
I'm interested in helping you. Seriously, I'm dead serious. So if this falls flat, edit it out so you don't look bad. And me. Fair enough? All right. So What's the name, by name, and the company of someone that if I introduced you to them, even if it was just socially, it could potentially change your business?
Oh my goodness, that is putting me on the spot.
Yeah, it's
Um,
hard, isn't it?
it is very hard because it isn't about the name of the company, it's or the name of the person.
So you
Uh,
ready? Ask
Okay.
me the same question.
Okay, what is the name of the business or person that I
So
can introduce you?
you have to have the name. The name is most important. You ready? His name's
Okay.
Michael Kitces.
Okay.
You ever heard of him?
No.
How long did it take you to figure that out?
A
Okay.
nanosecond.
So Hazel Walker, who's still involved with BNI and is like one of the most interesting human beings. Like she's awesome. I love you, Hazel, in India. I don't know if she's still in Indianapolis, but she's one of the greatest minds in referrals. Used to say, I don't know anyone that knows someone that knows anybody. Stop having me do your job. Specificity reduces risk in the referral process because when we're trying to get people to agree to refer us in a macroscopic general level, they instinctively know that's thousands of people they know. And they're trying to figure out, well, number one, nothing personal. I'm not referring anyone to everyone I know. But if you tell me the name, so by the way, the reason I want to meet Michael Kitces is he's one of the foremost subject matter experts, bar none, in the financial services industry. I respect him immensely. I've got other people that are working on that introduction, but like most professional salespeople, I will leverage multiple relationships in a process of introduction. So
Right.
that's the secret to this process. We always must do who we want to meet by name before we ever talk about how to refer them to us.
It's not that I wouldn't like to have a who, but it was a pretty grandiose ask of saying who's going to change my business, right? If I was going to ask who I wanted to meet, well, then I reach out and I say, Michael Garrison, can you come on to my podcast? I'd really like to meet you. I think you're going to change the scope and the means of which and the way that I do business because I can buy into our conversation. I can buy into your methodology and I'm going to steal it all and apply it to my business. And then I know I'm going to do better at what I'm doing. So I think it's just a means of, I like where you're going. It does throw me off and makes me really consider it. In your book, I really relate it to Charlie. And in my industry, in employee group benefits, of course, when we start, it's all about cold calling, right? It's all about cold calling. And I have never met anybody who comes out of that forging by fire and says, I want to go right back in to cold calling. Cold calling was the best sales experience I've ever had. Really, what it teaches you is like a telemarketer teaches you to get used to rejection and closed doors and people saying no.
But something else it does. You ready? So there's one reason cold calling is effective and why it still sticks around. And it's not because it actually works to produce more sales, right? Activity is what produces more sales. But what cold calling does is it gives a sales rep the opportunity to go to the gym,
Mhm.
right? Because sales, like referrals, is not personality driven. Personality can help or hinder, but sales is a skill acquisition process. It's a skill acquisition process. And I hate to say it, but I don't know a lot of natural salespeople that stayed in the profession because they didn't develop the systems and disciplines, the methodology. I think that's one of the things that separates me from a lot of referral trainers. We're about to put on my website, strategicreferralteam.com, mind you, plug. We're about to put on there my methodology, my methodology, not mythology, but my methodology for referrals. And it goes to this. You cannot bypass the requirement to have enough conversations, right? Whether those conversations occur because you're selling flowers and you're running Facebook ads, right? Whether those conversations occur with human beings or with AI bots, there's a certain amount of conversations. There's enough data that has to be applied and noticed and retained by some form of intelligence, whether it's artificial or natural. So I use artificial intelligence all the time, the way it's supposed to be used in taking data, research, and doing strategy, right? So can I give everybody that's listening a real quick tip?
Absolutely. I would
Right. So if you follow me, and I'm getting ready probably in November or December to launch a private referral community. It'll be like the Planet Fitness of referral training. It's so inexpensive. If you don't show up, you won't notice, and I will love you anyways. But all seriousness, I hope people do come. But here's the thing. The reality of social media is that if you are trying to use artificial intelligence or marketing automation to produce more messages, you are playing a loser's game. It's a devil's gambit because those platforms are designed to support more messages that are paid for in placement. People, you got to understand this. And so if you want to play the social media game, you have to first understand how does LinkedIn, mine of choice, how's LinkedIn make money? What is their business intent? How are they strategically intent? How do they create strategic capacity? Shout out to George Sandman, right? When you understand that, then you realize that they have to provide some form of platform. LinkedIn for me is where I identify other people that are selling to my ideal clients. Because, friends, the people that are most active on LinkedIn are looking to sell to business owners. The business owners are rarely interacting because they know that they're the antelope on the Serengeti and they don't want to be the one with a limp near the lions. So here's my challenge to you, right? I did it this morning. It was shocking. So this is what I want everybody to do. Whatever your industry is. So for me, it's referrals. And Lori, I was a little nervous doing this.
Okay.
And so I typed in, I use perplexity.ai. I'm a pro member because pro sounded bitchin'. It was a little bit more money. I had to do it. All right. I don't know if it's better, but I'm a pro. You know what I'm saying? So, anyways, I put in there, who are the world's foremost referral experts? I looked at it and I waited a little bit. It was very early this morning. And I said, okay, let's see what happens. I pushed it. To no surprise of mine, but also with tremendous disappointment, I was not mentioned. Some rascals were. These are very rich rascals, very old white rascals that have spoken to stadiums that I know of. They're in the reactive referral strategy. Here's how you ask for referrals better. Okay, well, that's how you're a referral predator, right? So I didn't come up. That was bitterly disappointing. Only one person that I consider to be credible came up, and they were in the top, but she was mentioned. It's Joanne Black from No More Cold Calling. She is freaking, she's amazing. She's absolutely incredible. Like, if you don't, No More Cold Calling, look it up. Joanne Black. She's a great person too. She's freaking awesome. I'm just louder. Right there you go. So, um, after I got over that bitter disappointment, after I shed a tear, I said, okay, without any precursors, I put, is Mike Garrison a referral expert? And I hit it and I was nervous. And it came back and it was awesome. Like, I didn't say Mike Garrison in the United States, it was just Mike Garrison. And what it showed me is that the hundreds of blogs I've written, the podcasts I've been on, the books, all the stuff I have been interacting with, all the testimonials, it worked. And then it actually, which is really cool with Perplexity Pro, it asked me a couple of prompts. Hey, would you like to see if Mike Garrison, how his stuff differs from others? I was like, well, of course I would. It's my favorite subject. Neat. Right. And then that came out really good. It had 7 distinct things that clearly differentiate me from other people that teach this. And actually that was 5 minutes, Lori. 10 minutes afterwards, I had finalized my referral methodology as a direct result of that. So my challenge to everybody listening to this, if you want to be successful, hear me first. The number one use of social media is so that when you manage to, through your own efforts, not some algorithm or God help you, don't send me any more of those freaking DMs, right? But through your own efforts, like you found me through a webinar I was doing, then you came to social media, you vetted me, right? I want you to think about this, people. When the prospect does find you, what do they see? And the most important question is, why should I refer you? This exercise we just went through, and hopefully you're not as disappointed as I was initially, is actually one of the fastest, lowest friction ways for a professional that cares about strategy to see what the internet has as an answer to that most important question. And then strategically, like, say, for example, I don't think it would happen to you, Lori, but say, for example, you didn't come up at all, right? Or it was incorrect, or it was really thin. Well, now we've got a roadmap and we've
Right.
got a way to test it. Like, AI for me is an interesting way to vet reputation.
I see AI as a tool,
Yes.
almost like a living, breathing tool, if you think about it that way. But I see LinkedIn, I see our social media as our old style resume or our old style CV on steroids. And it lives and breathes, just as you said, with us each day. The more that we do, the more we share the messaging, the more we're vulnerable and authentic in our messaging. Your post this week
Which
was
one?
the post this week, your blog this week with regards to artificial intelligence. Again, I think it hit right on the nose and it offended some people, and I think that's okay. I think that's absolutely
Beautiful.
okay. Not if I was gonna speak for you, but I do think that's okay because are we giving up our voice when we choose not to treat it like the tool that it is? Your example uses it as the tool, I believe, as I've listened to speakers from Silicon Valley who use it. It is a tool. It is not made to replicate, and I think it's a very slippery slope if we allow it to do that,
Oh,
to
yeah.
replicate our voice. It's not intended to do the job that should be done in here in order to service the clients better.
Well, so here's why I don't have the authority, but here's why I try and mandate for all my private coaching clients. I've got a closed practice. I only add a new client if I have one that graduates, right? And I've got two specific gates. They're based on exit planning, two specific gates that the client has to move through. Um, but fundamentally, social media represents one of the most amazing ways for a professional to write and engage, have conversations with real human beings, and do that skill acquisition game. I write two original blogs every week, one on referrals and one on exit planning and businesses, right? Today's was super offensive, by the way. My finish with a sprint one, because, like, I'll just clue everybody in. If you own a company for profit, you own a sales organization. And the sales process started when you got in the United States, when you incorporated the company. And it ends when you sell the company. The sales process covers every single aspect of your business, operations, HR, everything. And if it doesn't, you are at best a idiot, a disingenuous idiot, right? Because you're in a sales organization, and like the most offensive thing for me, short of like slurs, right, that I hear people say is, well, I'm not in sales. And I go, well, what are you in? Well, I'm in marketing. I'm like, so you're in sales? Well, no. I said, okay, so you're stupid. I mean, Like,
Yeah, and again, it's uncanning this synergy. I interviewed a marketing person, so somebody who listens to the show regularly or downloads them would hear me say this. My career started in radio, and
oh, good.
and I was young at the time. I was still in university when I started as part of a university program, which it's my first love. I can't gush enough about my years in radio. I loved it. I loved it. I loved the authenticity of it. But I would go down to the sales office and they would say, and rightly so, I agree with them, they're the best salespeople in the world. Why? Because they can sell air.
Yeah.
Somebody who is able to sell advertising on radio can sell anything.
You know what's even better? A copier salesperson before digital printing, which is what I was. Because I'm not selling air. I'm selling something that's guaranteed to break.
True, true, but we would have at some points, we would have liked to have something at least bird in
I'm
hand,
sure.
right?
I'm sure. Well, like, but radio, like, think about it. Radio advertising still works.
It absolutely works because it is so authentic. And my first learning, I think I was 18 years old. My first learning is going down and I was on air and I would chit chat with the people that were in the office and I would say, "Oh, you guys in sales." And they're like, "No, no, you're in sales.
Yes,
You're the on air. If you're not doing your job, nothing we do is going to create that safety net for you."
totally. So I just recorded before I got on here with you a podcast for my upcoming In Your Face Why Should I Refer You podcast coming soon. And with Larry Levine, who's one of my best friends. Larry Levine, selling from the heart, selling in a post-trust world. Larry Levine and I have known each other for almost 15 years, and we've never physically met. But every time we talk to each other, we end with, I love you, brother. I love you. We've developed that kind of relationship. Um, and Larry and I were talking about earning the right to get a referral, right? So, and he was a copier salesperson as well. But I made a point with Larry, and he agreed that the most customer centric companies are where every single employee understands that it's a sales organization and that everything that they do internally and externally affects the success of their clients, right? The problem is you can argue about the bad actors all day long. Just turn on the news and watch politics. I'm sure Canada's got, I'm not aware of the Canadian political situation, and I try and avoid the dumpster fire with plutonium radiation that is United States political process. When people ask me who I'm voting for, I go, someone else, right? Like that's like I want another choice. What does that mean? It means I want another choice. They're like, does that mean you're not voting? It means I want another choice. Like, and they're like, okay, so you're not going to tell me. I'm like, correct. Like, I'm not voting unless I find somebody else. So there you go. So long story short, here's the deal. You've got to be able, like, if you hear anything else from this crazy podcast that I've completely destroyed Lori's format, I apologize. Hear me when I say this. Instead of sales being a dirty word in your business, embrace it as a mandate for personal improvement, for delivering excellence, and blowing the doors off of customers. And the book you've got to read, the Ultimate Customer Experience book, which I'm so bitter is not available on Audible, is by Ken Blanchard, and it's called Raving Fans. It is it,
Raving fans, okay?
it is a beautiful book about loving human beings. I wept when I first heard the tape. Right? It was the first one of the parable type books where you and basically it's about, hey, how can we prove to our clients that we love them?
I feel that if I help you spread your message to more people, it will help me because they will understand. So call me a predator, but
Well,
that's
but here's the thing, like that whole referral predator thing is this. You ready?
yep.
It's not wrong to ask for referrals.
No.
It's not wrong. The question is, how many conversations can you have within a certain unit of time where all you're doing is asking other people to help you, right? What I've discovered, and it may seem strange to the audience, and but I've discovered that when I'm authentically asking other people about how to help them, I notice they seem to be more interested in the conversation. They seem to feel
And that's the goal, isn't it?
it.
Well, and
I've
I think you said it early on, right? If you're not part of it, then there's nothing to come back.
well, it's even
If they don't
greedier,
recognize that you're the one giving the referral, then
right?
you've lost the power of that referral.
Well, remember, here's the deal. My pitch for people when I'm looking to get hired by an organization or speak at a conference, available, by the way, especially if it's near wild trout water, I'm available for speaking. I even offer a discount. It's on my website. I offer a discount if you're near wild trout water. But I always say, would it be okay if I 3x the amount of referral conversations you and your organization had without adding anything to your calendar? And every time they go, yes, I say, great. I will send you the invoice, right? Because it's the giving conversation. What I'm doing when I'm doing that referral with your friend, I'm creating 2 to 3 times more brief, very efficient, but very, very calculated referral conversations. I can't do that if I'm a referral beggar or referral predator. If my only conversation is, hey, would you help me out? It's really hard. You have to be super good to have other people really excited about following up with you when they're giving to you. You can do
So,
it.
okay, so I'm going to hit you with this. As
Oh,
we're now besties, okay?
all
So
right,
we're now
let's do
best
it.
friends. So I'm going to hit you with this. I'm going to ask you 3 questions.
All right,
You
let's do
can
it.
answer them. Okay. Is Mike Garrison interesting?
I am I am better than interesting. I'm fascinating.
Can Mike Garrison add value to my best clients?
Only if they will do the work. And here's why. You ready? So I'm only interesting to people that understand that we live in like a world with cause and effect. And like I always tell people, I'm not a rent-a-friend coach. I'm not a life coach. Don't insult me, right? I'm a hardcore business coach that loves people, right? And I insist upon systems that we can replicate, that are resilient, and that we can measure so that we make sure we're not wasting lives, right? And so when I engage with a client, I always tell them this. You ready, Lori? This is my close. You ready? This is super close. It's unbelievable. So I use 2 closes. If I'm feeling especially froggy and I've had a lot of caffeine, and a lot of caffeine for me would be at least 12 cups of coffee. Because at 10, I'm just nice, right? The first close I say is, well, Lori, like it seems like you're interested in what we're talking about. If I was paying for it, would you want to move forward? And they go, well, yeah. I said, great. I'd like you to pay for it. Can we talk about that? Right. So that's one of my, it's just what, wow, what an ingenious close that is, right? Like, so you have to have my personality to pull that off though. So like the second close I say is, hey, please understand that I charge the price I charge because the moment you say, why is it so expensive? We start to increase the odds of it actually working. Right. And I tell clients, like, I'm in the process performance improvement business, right? Even if I'm consulting with a large independent RIA in Canada with 50 to 100 reps that would like to make a lot more money, I'm here, right? But even if I was doing that, just off the cuff, right? The success of that process depends upon their willingness to come to practice,
Mhm.
their willingness to run the laps, to lift the weights, because this is why I love working with financial services. And that's why it's my niche, because they can't hide from the reality of their own business model, which requires discipline, vision, and constant execution.
Ah,
All right. What's your third question?
Well, you answered. You folded in the
Oh,
third question in there. Was I was going to say, and can Mike Garrison add value to my best referral sources? And
I
so
hope
you
so. But
that.
I'll tell you this, what Mike Garrison will do is do his best to A, not wreck the car, and then B, like when I get referrals, often I am trying to find a referral for the person that introduced me in the first meeting with their client. Ready, Lori? How often do you beat your clients up for referrals?
Not very often.
So, like theoretically, and this is one of my advanced strategies that we do with private clients, and it's in the accelerator program with EPI. Theoretically, would it be cool if whenever you referred me, which by the way, I love referrals. You may have heard that phrase before, right? But would it be cool if, like in the beginning, I just kind of took a moment to express to your friend or your client how much I respect and am aware of the relationship that you have, and that I'm there to do no harm? And then this is so cool, and I encourage everybody to do this. I go, hey, by the way, Lori, it's great meeting you. Jody referred us. It was incredible. Jody, she doesn't bang on you for referrals all the time, does she? And they'd be like, no. I said, I mean, that's kind of nice about her, isn't it? She's not out there just all about herself. Yeah. I go, would you be comfortable? And those are the words. Would you be comfortable if we just took a moment and just kind of brainstormed a little bit about how we could maybe find an introduction for Lori? Like it doesn't
You're not
work.
going to get me to say no.
It doesn't work every time. But like if you knew I was going to be doing that every time you referred me, is the car coming back better or the same?
The car is coming back better, and I think the tank is filled a little bit higher than when I first gave it to you.
Yeah. And so like a lot of what we're talking about, and you're a person of values, and you get what I'm saying is like th this referral game rises and falls based upon intentionality and explicit communication. The way that we reduce risk is we acknowledge it, right? You got
I
me all fired up. I am so fired up right now. I feel bad for my family. Uh, I,
This has been explosive and more entertaining than I would. You know what? You looked really sedate when I had first encountered your webinar. I was like, I was put myself in there going, okay, well, what am I going to talk about? And this has been, to use my name, a power hour, right? Like this has been very, very powerful. And I am so glad that I took the chance to reach out to you
I
because
was honored. I was so honored by the way you approached me, right? It was, I felt, I was like, wow, this is so, there was humility, such respect. Like, I was like, who is this Lori person, right? Like, so I just want to say something. You ready?
okay,
If you're listening to this, I hope that you have half an idea how to help Lori out, right? And I have one request. If you got value from this podcast, would you please make sure you connect with her on LinkedIn? She's wonderful. She comments intelligently and thoughtfully, which is massive for what we're talking about. Like people that will engage with your content respectfully, that aren't trying to steal your thunder. She's amazing. But would you connect with her? And then if you are in her target market, would you just reach out and let her know that you'd like to get to know her? Because here's the deal. If you're not in the market right now for what she does, you will be in the future, and you should get on her list now.
I can't tell. That is amazing. Thank you so much.